Pelvic Floor Exercise, Australia's specialist pelvic floor shop, introduces the PFX2, available for purchase from our website at www.pelvicfloorexercise.com.au. The PFX2 is an easy-to-use perineometer designed with the home user in mind. Its purpose is to provide visual feedback on what is happening inside your body when you do a pelvic floor contraction. It therefore overcomes the uncertainty that women feel about whether they are doing their pelvic floor exercises correctly and whether they are making progress. The display gauge on the PFX2 shows the strength and duration of your contraction and thus assists you to improve both of these essential components of your exercise program. The gradual improvement that you will see displayed on the PFX2's gauge over the course of your program will provide certainty that your exercises are working and will motivate you to keep going. The PFX2 is Australian designed and is included on the Australian Register of Therapeutic Goods. It is very popular with physiotherapists and continence advisors. It is a particularly rewarding choice for women who are just setting out on an exercise program, as it is highly sensitive to even small amounts of muscle movement. It works via air pressure, so requires no batteries or power. The PFX2 comes in its own case containing the display unit, the vaginal sensor, and the connecting tube. A user's handbook is also enclosed. Customers buying from Pelvic Floor Exercise also receive a guide to correct pelvic floor exercise technique. Follow the clear instructions in the handbook to use the PFX2. Before inserting the vaginal sensor, turn the dial on the display unit to 0 and make sure there are no indentations in the sensor. Insert the vaginal sensor, leaving about 1 centimetre of its length outside the vagina. Some women may find it helpful to use a small amount of a water-based lubricant. With the sensor inserted, note the reading on the gauge and enter it into the scorecard on the back of the handbook. You may prefer to keep this information on a separate piece of paper. Then turn the dial clockwise until the needle on the gauge returns to 0. Like this. Begin your pelvic floor contractions. Follow the instructions in the handbook and in our guide to ensure you use the correct technique. That is, you must ensure you are lifting your pelvic floor muscles and not bearing down. We suggest a simple test to ensure your technique is correct in our guide. At each exercise session, you are aiming to complete a cycle of 10 contractions held for a count of 10, each contraction released with control and resting for a count of 10 between contractions. You will definitely not be able to achieve this at first, but don't despair. Even if you can only achieve a flicker on the dial, this demonstrates that your muscles are working. Use the feedback gauge to check your progress while you contract as hard as you can and keep a record of what you can achieve. Your exercise session will only take about 10 minutes a day. Try to exercise every day and use the same position each time so that your readings are repeatable. Wash and dry the vaginal sensor after every exercise session. This is especially important if you've used lubricant, which must be removed immediately you've finished exercising. Each time you use your PFX2, remember to take a note of the initial reading when you first insert the sensor. Over the course of your exercise program, as your muscle strength improves, you will notice that the gauge will start to show a higher reading when you first insert the sensor. Continue to use the dial to adjust the needle back to 0 before you begin exercising. By adjusting the dial and the needle back to 0, you are recalibrating to your new base level. So as you contract, you will still aim to reach a reading of 10, hold for 10 and so on, but this is now from a new, more demanding level. Thus the PFX2 is adjustable to meet your changing needs as your muscle tone improves over a period of time. The PFX2 is available to both Australian and international customers from the Pelvic Floor Exercise online shop at www.pelvicfloorexercise.com.au. Australian customers may also order by phone if they prefer on 1300 76 39 40.